really go out and do whatever we can to help the HBCUs. And so, we look at some of the resources that we have that the HBCUs do not have. That I saw that this has be a nice fundraiser too, to help in any way to help with their any resources that they're lacking, that we can help in any type of way to help raise money for it. So we are very happy to be a part of this, King. We're looking forward to the experience, and we also will do where we can to help grow it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We have a first question from Charles Holman. Charles?
Yes,
Charles,
good morning.
there you go.
Good morning. Thank you very much. This is for both coaches and also for Darryl. How important is this not only to speak on the issues that you're speaking on, but you're also two Black coaches are on the sidelines that are being leaders to show that Blacks can do this. And also, will this game be an annual event similar to Coaches versus Camps?
Darryl, you mute.
Darryl? Darryl, you're on mute. Can you take this one?
I know. Yeah. No. Yeah. Let me take this. Yeah. Let me take this question, please. Sorry about that, guys. So when we chose the teams, okay, we chose the teams and we interviewed. Originally this was going to be a 6 and 8 team event, and we chose the teams based on the conversations that I actually initially had with coaches, because I just wanted to get an idea of what their thoughts were and wanted that to be organic, right? I don't want to predetermine who to allow to play in an inaugural event. And based on those conversations that I had with Coach Howard and Coach Smith, those were the two that we decided that made the most sense. Okay, it didn't matter if those coaches were white or Black, to be honest with you. Okay, this is not a white or Black event. Okay, it's a coaches versus racism and other issues event. Okay, and I know sometimes when it gets misconstrued when you see the word racism, but that racism word means so many more things. Okay, whether it's you look at Chinese people are being racially profiled. You got the lesbian and gay communities being racially profiled. So it's a wide range of topics that we can tackle with this. And I don't want to make it about a Black on Black coaches event or anything like that. This is a world problem, okay? But we'll start with our nation and at our nation's capital. The second question I'll answer is yes, we'll have this is an inaugural event, but we'll have more events. We already have slated next year in Vegas. We'll probably have 8 teams. We're also trying to organize one there in Houston and then Miami. So our goal is to try to have the same model as Coaches versus Cancer. I just feel like Dickie V and ESPN has done a really good job with promoting that event. And I think it's a great template for us to take baby steps to grow our event the same way and to keep the narrative alive.
Thanks, Darryl. And we also have a question from Andrew Kahn over at MLive.
Yes, hello. I've got questions for both coaches, but I'll start with Coach Smith. And I want to ask about Juwan Howard. I mean, given what he's done, Michigan won the Big Ten last year, went to the Elite Eight, and the fact that he's at such a high profile school, like what does his success mean to the Black coaching community? Does it mean anything, more special to you in particular?
It does. He has, let me start with saying there's a lot of guys that come from the NBA they get into coaching, and not to be negative. I don't think that they really understand what it entails to be a college coach. Beside the X's and O's, there's so much more of a responsibility that you have in the NBA. I think it's just pretty much coaching, managing egos. I'm so impressed with Juwan Howard. Obviously, I followed him as a player, and was very impressed with how he conducted himself and carried himself as a player. I thought he was always an outstanding example of shining light on what professional athletes are supposed to be and how to conduct themselves. So I think he's always been, in my mind, in a position that he's led, and a great example for people to tell their young children, hey, that guy's got it figured out, follow his lead. But obviously he had a lot of success, as an assistant coach there with the Miami Heat. But once again, a lot of NBA guys, when they cross the line and get into college, they don't have the success. So I personally think that he's done one of the best coaching jobs in the country. It's not my call to say anyone's the best coach or who's the best or the worst, but I think Juwan Howard's done one of the best coaching jobs. And I want to be specific when I say that. With his teams, the years that he's been at Michigan, they're always well prepared. They play so hard. They play together. So I'm a fan, first and foremost, of the job that he's done in watching his teams play. Obviously, going up against them, it's going to be a daunting task. They've got one of the premier players in the country in Hunter Dickinson. I don't know what we're going to do to be able to guard him. Maybe Coach Howard can come over and help us out a little bit with some post defense. Maybe he's got some ideas for me. But Juwan Howard is just he's a shining star for all of us. Obviously he's a little bit younger than I am, but someone I look up to, not only just in his stature and his size, but just his character and what he's all about as a man. And let me say this in the end too. I pay close attention to coaches, and he's got a really, really good staff, got an experienced guy, Coach Martelli over there. But the thing that's really impressive is Juwan Howard's coaching that team. And he's coaching that team. I'm watching him during timeouts and drawing up plays and things like that. He's coaching that team. Make no mistake about it. So I think he's done a phenomenal job. It's an honor for me to be on the other side, on the sideline with him. I'm just hoping that we can get a one-on-one game in between the games and stuff like that, because I don't know how the Prairie can match up against Michigan, but I think if he doesn't shoot, shoots anything outside of 15 feet, I think I might have a chance to pull off the upset.
All right. Thank you. And then for you, Juwan, you're relatively young. You haven't been coaching for all that long yet, but given your success, there are even younger or less experienced Black coaches that are looking up to you. I've talked to some of them already. Like, do you see yourself as a mentor for those coaches?
Well, I'm very humble, I would say, in a lot of ways. And, first of all, thank you, Coach Smith. That means a lot, coming from a guy who's done it before. And I know you've had an opportunity to witness a lot of coaches on the sideline, how they, are able to, build their programs and the success they had with their programs. One of the things that I always try to do is just try to figure out ways to how to get better. And I'm all about the growth mindset. And you never know who's watching you. And so with that being said, the beauty of what I'm able to do is try to do whatever I can to help serve these young men, whether it's in basketball or it's just in life in general, for them to be successful. So when we talk about being on the court, how do other coaches, do I see, younger guys look at me as an example? I really don't know. I'm just going to continue to do whatever I can to, to help grow myself as well as help prepare my team. And at the same time, try to be one of the most competitive teams when we're out there competing. This game is not easy. It's a challenge, but it's more than just basketball. And I think Coach had just touched on it earlier, that it's more than just, the X's and O's. And that's what I embraced. I embrace just, what has came with, everything that's been a part of this, and some would say a job, but I look at it as not a job. This is something I love doing, and it's just happened to be just part of what I always enjoyed, and that's the game of basketball. So everything that came with this, as far as, being a good teacher, try to be a great example, but also be transparent while doing it. I've never done everything perfect every time. I still make mistakes as a coach. and I still want to try to see where I can help improve. But it's flattering to see that other guys that look like me is getting the opportunity.
Great. And Anthony, Amy, I see your hand up, and I just want to say, Coach Howard's time is tight, so if you want to direct questions to him, please do so.
All right, thank you, Martine. Good morning, everybody. My question is actually for both coaches, and you both have touched on it a little bit, but we all understand the business of basketball and what that entails. But how much do both of you really enjoy and revel in the fact that you're educators, particularly for a weekend like this, for an event like this? How much does being an educator mean to you in addition to your coaching duties?
Well, I'll start first. One of the things that I remember saying one time to when I was assistant coach, with the Miami Heat, that, I'm not a teacher, and I never went to school for, teaching. My degree was all about, communication and, focus a little bit in business. And so this in basketball, it's so much teaching that's involved. And then when you get to the college level, you're looked at as an educator in a lot of ways, because everything you say and do, your players really pays attention. And with that, not only just you, but they also pays attention to your staff. So when it comes to picking a staff, as well as myself, we try to represent what we're all about, as far as what we've learned growing up from our parents, to be able to share some of the knowledge that we've learned from either our coaches as well as our teachers and parents on what we can do to be great examples and send the right message to our young youthful student athletes. And with that, I'm embracing it, but I also will continue to keep educating myself to be able to keep feeding knowledge to others.
Yeah, to piggyback off of Coach Howard, we're in a position of influence and impact. I come from a family of educators. Everyone in my family pretty much were teachers or principals. Grandmother, my mom. So it was introduced to me at a young age, and I think the best way you can teach is for you to be a good example. In terms of doing things the right way, working hard. One of the things I do, I'm a bit of a workout fanatic. I always like for my players to see me. I set the example. Being very energetic. Always, like I say, exercising. Every now and again, getting up a few 3-point shots. Getting a little sweaty out there with my guys, because but I do think that I am a teacher, especially with how with recruiting and things like that. I'm not the biggest fan of some of the basketball environments that some of our kids in this area come out of. So they come into our program and they're just athletic. I mean, the skill level is not where it needs to be. So our staff spends a lot of time on teaching things out on the court, but also off the court, preparation, how to get ready. One of the hardest things we have to deal with here is practice, getting guys to practice, because obviously with high school, it's not a lot of time for that. AAU, it's not a lot of time for practice and things like that. So that's the biggest adjustment for kids coming in here, is being able to go through a 2.5 hour, 3 hour practice, sometimes 3.5 hour practice. So you're constantly teaching habits, building habits, and things of that nature. So I think we are, to an extent, teachers.
Great. And Chris Gardner.
Thank you very much. This is a question for Coach Smith. Coach, what message are you giving to your players about the significance of participating in this event?
I mean, obviously, our kids are very smart. We have a little bit of an older team. They pay attention. They watch the news. I mean, they know what's going on. They know what's going on, and out in the communities and the streets, in terms of racial profiling, some mistreatment, the whole George Floyd thing. So my biggest thing to them is just to be aware of your surroundings, to continue to pay attention, to not to be in a situation where you're going to put yourself or your teammates in harm's way. My image, traveling, 4 or 5 guys in a car, hoodies, things like that. All these things I think that have caused problems in our society in terms of being profiled. We just talked to them about that, and to continue to be an agent for change, to make sure that you are doing the right things, living the right way, being respectful to an officer. If that's something that becomes an issue, you get pulled over, random traffic stop, to be respectful. But just to know that these are some very serious and some dangerous times, but to continue to do the best that you can and be on your best behavior at all times.
Great. And I think Stephen Gaither had a question previously, or Stephen, are you all set? Or
Yes, I am. Hey guys, how you doing? This is for Coach Howard, and then I'll have a follow-up for Coach Smith. Coach Howard, you're going against Prairie View A&M, which is a historically Black college. Playing at that Big Ten Power 5 level, you don't really get a chance to play those colleges a lot. But can you just talk about any influences that you may have had that have come from HBCUs? I know I talked to Tubby Smith, and he talked about some older guys like Big House Gaines and folks like that who influenced him. But if you had any influences or connections to HBCUs, in the basketball world.
Well, a lot of my mentors back in my neighborhood, some of them have came from the HBCUs, as well as some of my friends in the neighborhood as well. But I remember, like, last season, we played against Texas Southern in the tournament, and trust me, I did not go into that game thinking that was going to be an easy cakewalk. Looking at the film and watching them throughout the season, they were a team that was well coached, that played hard from start to finish. Also, a very competitive group. They didn't look at a Power 5 conference and look and say, you know what, we fear them. So that's the same exact thing that I expect when we play Prairie View A&M. They're going to be well coached, prepared, and they're not going to sit down and just lay down on because we're the Big Ten and we one of the power conferences in the country. So our mindset going into that game, we're knowing that it's going to be a fun atmosphere, a very competitive game, but we give respect where respect is due. We never take any opponent lightly, and nor last I checked, we didn't win the NCAA championship last year. So no entitlement on our end. And like I touched on before, this is going to be a very competitive game from a well-coached, balanced team.
And then for Coach Smith, for you guys to play a Big Ten team on in a neutral court, a neutral setting in Washington, D.C., how big is that for you guys coming out of the SWAC, being one of the top programs there? And like Coach Howard just said, your neighbors down the road played them tough. Just talk about what that means for your program.
It's great. We always look for the challenge. We want to try to play the best just to get a gauge as to where we are. Obviously it's we got a very tough, very competitive schedule. But I think Michigan is probably the tops of our schedule. But for us, our focus when we play against these big schools is not always about who we're playing as much as it is how we're playing and how we're going to play. But like I say, it'd be a daunting task. I'd like to pick Coach Howard's brain, and obviously maybe get an opportunity to talk to him. It'd be an honor to be able to do that, just to kind of get some, because he runs some really good stuff offensively, and I'm a young coach, not necessarily in age, but just in terms of years on the job. So that'll be something to be exciting for me to get an opportunity maybe to speak with him, but just for our players to be able to go against some of the best athletes in the country, because he's done an unbelievable job in recruiting. But we'll be up for the task. We'll be coming off of 2 tough games already on the West Coast, so we'll be coming over there. So we'll have a couple of games under our belt. But we're looking forward to it in the nation's capital. It should be fun. Coach may have a little bit of an advantage there playing for the Bullets back in the day, but hopefully his team won't have shot in some of the places that he shot when he was there playing with the Bullets. But we're excited about it. It should be fun. And like I say, just, the countdown is on. It'll be here in a few weeks. I look forward to it.
Wonderful. And Cardell Dudley had some questions, and then we'll have to let coaches go. We're coming up on time. So Cardell, if you could ask your question first to Coach Howard.
Yes, let me see. Coach, thanks for taking my time. You obviously have recruited locally. You know, you have some of our top prospects that came out there high school wise, and also you play here. Just talk about how big this game will be, just having a homecoming, especially with you guys not being able to come here to play Maryland, with Maryland coming to play you guys in Ann Arbor. Just talk about how it is to have those guys be able to come back and, you know, look to put on a show in front of their home crowd.
Well, it's beautiful to get an opportunity to come back to the nation's capital. You know, I consider, you know, that city as one of the cities that adopted me. Like the coach touched on earlier, I got my first NBA shot at playing for the Washington Bullets, and then we moved on, became the Washington Wizards. So I was there for almost 7 years. So I'm very familiar with the area. I'm also familiar with the young talent that has came through that city before me, after me, and now currently. And so when Hunter Dickinson as well as Terrence Williams was playing for, one was playing for Gonzaga, the other one playing for DeMatha, had a chance to see some of their games and felt that they fit, you know, our culture. And then now currently as they are on the team and just watching their growth, it's been beautiful. And I've learned a lot from them too. So I think it's great that they get an opportunity to come back home to play in front of their families and friends. But most importantly, I think it's great for the entire team to get a chance to come back to DC. And while we're there, you know, we're gonna take time out of our schedule and go visit the National Museum of African American History, just so our guys can, you know, we talk about educating and teaching, so they get a chance to see, you know, some of the beautiful history of what has been before us, and those that are currently and what they're doing as far as the impact they're having on not just on the African American community, but also people in life in general. So it's going to be not only a competitive game, but it's going to be a educational trip for all of us, and we're looking forward to it.
Thank you, Coach.
Coach Howard, I know you have to go and you had a hard stop. Can you stay for one more question, or should we let you go?
I mean, you put me on the spot. Of course I'm staying.
All right.
I'm gonna say no, let's go.
Okay, so we had any final questions for Coach Howard? John, did you have a question?
I do, but I'm expecting a phone call any moment, so I don't want to be the guy who asks a question and then has to leave. And he's been more than generous, so I'm fine.
Okay, wonderful. All right, thanks, John. And Cardell, please continue. Coach Howard, thank you for staying. And Cardell, I believe you had a question for Coach Smith as well as one for Darryl Woods as well.
Yes, I'm gonna get to Coach first, Coach Smith. You know, just talk about why this game is so huge for not just for your program, but the SWAC conference as a whole, and minority coaches all over the country at every division of college basketball, especially coming off of last season where a number of games against, you know, high majors were canceled due to, you know, the pandemic and COVID.
I mean, it's again, it's a big game for our program because we prepare every game. I mean, obviously, as coach speak, you know, every game is an important game. But obviously, with it being Michigan, not so much the Big Ten, because I think they've kind of separated themselves from a lot of programs. I think they're the best program in the Big Ten over the last couple of years. So, but just the quality of players that they have is big for our kids every year. You know, you want to give them an opportunity, to compete against, young men that have been recognized as some of the best players at their positions in the country. But also for us, it's a teaching point that, and again, they've got great players, very good players. A lottery pick from last year, guys that are all over the NBA rosters. And Coach Howard's done a great job in developing those guys and mentally and physically for the next level. But I'm pretty sure there's probably some guys that are probably there that probably not much different than some of our guys, but for whatever reason, we'll get a lot of transfers, but it could have been just, the luck of the draw that that young man went to Michigan and this young man came to Prairie. So for us, just for our guys to be able to compete against guys that have a big name on the front of their shirt, but maybe not a lot of difference in talent, outside of the top 5, 6, 7, or 8 players in his rotation. So from that end, I think it's good for our guys to get to compete. Again, for me personally, as I touched on earlier, an opportunity to compete against someone that I feel has done the best coaching job in the country in the last few years in the short time he's been at Michigan. So it's big for me personally as a coach, and I can continue to learn and grow by watching him and maybe having an opportunity to speak with him a little bit. And just for our institution, being at HBCU, obviously there's a big push, with social justice and things like that. So us having a platform to be able to continue the conversation and be a representative of a historically Black college and university. And again, as Coach Howard said, it's not just all African Americans here. I mean, we have a lot of different, nationalities here, but I just think just being, in a position to, have a place at the table and represent the great game of basketball and help Prairie View at the same time, I think it's huge.
Thank you.
And last question for Darryl Woods. I think, Cardell, you had one last question, and then we'll wrap up.
Oh, no, he answered it at the beginning, just talking about the events that led up to the formation of the showcase. So he already answered it.
Okay, wonderful. And Darryl, before we wrap up, is there anything else that you'd like to mention to the reporters about the game?
No, I think the game itself, the coaches did a pretty good job with explaining why they're involved in the game. For us at CVR, while the game is the platform, there's other things like Coach Howard just mentioned about the educational tour, which both teams will participate in. We also have a panel discussion with some dignitaries like John Carlos, Ethan Thomas, just from the area, and things like that, a VIP reception, that's centered around the game. And that allows us also to do, again, while the game is the platform and the vocal point, there's some educational things that we'll line up to center around that a little bit. But again, thanks everybody for covering the inaugural event. Thanks to the coaches for participating. And then thank you, Martine, for putting this together for us.
Wonderful. Okay, thanks everybody for participating. The game is going to be held at ESA Stadium in Washington, D.C. on November 13th. Tip-off 8 o'clock. Game will be broadcast live on the Big Ten Network. We'll be sending you more information regarding the panel and the dignitaries who are part of that panel discussion. And as Darryl said, thank you everyone for joining. And we look forward to having you at the game. And please feel free to reach out to us with any questions you might have. We will be setting up interviews post-conference. So do contact either Katrina or myself to set up interviews. So again, thanks everyone. Good seeing you and have a great day.
Okay. Thanks, guys. See you, Coach.
Thank you very much. Thank you.